I wasn't sure I hit the button properly. Anyway, folks, good morning. Ever have one of those days where nothing seems to be starting and you just feel like crap? Yeah, I'm having one of those. The weather here has taken a decidedly moist turn. Newfoundland's brief summer has basically hit the wind down. And just one moment. Okay. As I was saying, Newfoundland's summer has begun to wind down, and the weather has shifted. It's gotten cold and rainy, which it will be for pretty much the rest of the year. Yay. And of course I got smoke in my eye. That's a bit better. The funny thing about living in northern climate, or northern climes rather, is that because we're exposed to less sunlight than usual, or than the average human requires, or that a human requires biologically, I suppose. Vitamin D is I would say, necessary supplement in your diet, or to something that you should try to find in your diet as much as possible. And of course, get outside and interesting. Just looking at my drill, there's a feature on the bottom of it I'd never noticed. Sorry, squirrel. But scientists have come to discover things that people with seasonal affective disorder could have told them decades ago. Vitamin D is good for depression. Yeah, no shit. Being outdoors, being active, getting exposed to sunlight, turns out it's really good for people. And I guess it's really not much of a shock that when you lock up an entire population for, say, 2 years and confine them to indoor spaces, or encourage them to confine themselves to those indoor spaces, that the general mood starts to go down. Yeah. So apparently, some psychiatrist or group of psychiatrists has figured out that vitamin D is actually really good for you. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. I'm really getting tired of watching people reinvent things or rediscover things. This isn't news. We've known, it's been a meme, for God's sakes, for at least a couple of years now, that you should go outside and touch grass if you feel bad. For myself, we've known about a phenomenon called the winter blues for a long time. And for whatever reason, I suspect because no one had bothered to fund it because it wasn't a big enough issue, no one bothered to look at the average, the average Westerner anyway, and see where they were deficient, what their mental issues might be, things like that. Sorry, squirreled again. But one of the things that really kind of surprises me about this constant apparent rediscovery of things that have been known for a while. Excuse me, I've got a hair in my nose, I've got to get rid of that. Anyway, as I was saying, this constant rediscovery that scientists seem to be going through Uh, I expect it's probably based on whether or not they're funded, based on whether or not something is perceived to be an issue. And the thing that really bothers me about that is that science is meant to be a field of inquiry. Uh, it should not be rediscovering things that folk medicine or general knowledge has figured out generations before. Uh, I mean, I was in my 20s at the most, I think, when uh, the idea of seasonal affective disorder, as opposed to calling it the winter blues, to giving it a clinical name, came around. And at that time, people were told, if you experience this seasonal affective disorder, this uh, winter blues, you know, depression, essentially, that comes with different parts of the year, the issue being the sunlight exposure level. They were telling people then to use vitamin D to alleviate those symptoms. And I've been using vitamin D probably since my 20s to alleviate those symptoms. And initially, what I was doing was using vitamin D just in the darkest months. Uh, and then as time went on, and the darkest months in Newfoundland being generally the early fall, because that's when we get the most rain, uh, when we get the most fog, things like that. So the least amount of vitamin D exposure. But I found that when I stopped using vitamin D in the spring, I would have a decline in my mood for a little while. So, oh God, this must be 10 years ago now. I stopped cutting the vitamin D out and instead switched to changing dosage. For me, this is what works. I don't recommend you try it for yourselves, but the likelihood of harming yourself with vitamin D is relatively low. Uh, I generally, excuse me, I generally take, I believe it's 5,000 IU a day, International Unit, whatever that stands for. And I find that that does me perfectly well. During the summer months, or the brighter months, I'll cut that to 4 and do my damnedest to get outside as much as possible. This year, I've noticed that I had to up my intake again earlier than expected. And I put that down to spending a lot of time indoors working in the shed and also indoors in the house working in the basement, in the studio, because that's causing me to be less exposed to the sun, obviously, and therefore less actual vitamin D. And no, that's not the reason I shaved my head. I shaved my head purely out of vanity. You guys have seen what I look like with my hair growing out a little bit. Even this doesn't really look great, but this is a little less high maintenance than keeping my head shaved all the time. But the vitamin D thing, I've found that, and because I have thyroid disease, something bit me there. But because I have thyroid disease, I've been forced to pay more attention to the state of my mood, the state of my physical sensations, the status messages that my body sends. And with that, I've gotten fairly keen at observing changes in my physical sensations. It's something I absolutely do recommend. Pay attention to the way your body is, to what your body is telling you. Uh, and if you do decide to start using vitamin D, don't expect an immediate change, and start small, right? If you've never taken it on a regular basis, take 1 pill a day for a while. And for a while, with my thyroid medication, when I change medication or change the method by which I administer it or whatever, you have to wait 6 to 8 weeks to really see a change. Your body chemistry can actually take quite a while to change. I know for some medications they recommend a year to see a change. And I've found with vitamin D, going from the 4 to the 5,000, generally, I don't know if it's because my body is primed to accept more vitamin D because I have a regular intake, but I find 2 to 3 weeks is when I start to notice the change. And I do apologize if I'm speaking softly. I've been trying to project a little more to the camera. Sometimes it slips my mind, like many things. But if you do decide to start taking vitamin D, start small. And I recommend against the vitamin D shot. That's something like 20,000 IU. So that's like a 4 days dose in one go, and apparently that's supposed to be good for a month. I really don't think that works that way. I think what you'll end up doing is, as Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory pointed out with multivitamins, you're really just manufacturing expensive pee. Your body will flush almost all of the vitamin D you're taking, or any vitamin supplement, for usually the first 2 to 3 weeks. It's one of those things that it has to build up in your bloodstream on a regular basis before your body really notices it's there. And vitamin supplements can be kind of expensive. But I think probably worth it. In fact, I may start taking something else to release energy soon. I haven't decided exactly what yet. Possibly one of the B complex vitamins. I haven't, again, not a medical guy. I haven't done a lot of research in the area, so what else is going on? So my buddy Trim is doing a live stream tomorrow, finishing off another art piece of his. If you're interested in, how would I describe his art? Slightly cartoonish, definitely horror inspired, probably fantasy horror inspired. A little poppy, but that's, I don't mean that as a disparagement. Yeah, that's how I describe it. So that's Trim's Art Shack. Trim with a Y. Excuse me. Trim with a Y. What else is going on? The Sultans is planned to come back. Oh, my friend Bleach Demon did a live stream last night of the Alaska and Wyoming primaries. Congratulations, Liz Cheney. Hope you enjoy your retirement. But let's see, what else have we got going? Bleach is apparently going to be streaming with Bezic on Twitch. I believe that's potentially right now, but sometime today, I think. And that's Bezic 1000 at twitch.tv, if I recall correctly. So go throw those guys some support. I think we're all fairly dedicated to building the Sultans brand where we can. Not because we want to blackpill everybody, though we do end up blackpilling you, somewhat unintentionally. But also because we need more people in the space of pushback. Not being violent or being necessarily aggressive, but simply going, look, this is what's going on. We need to stop this shit because, well, it's pretty obvious if we don't, the world is fucked. Or at least the Western world. And I'm sorry, but that's the one that matters to me. It's the one I live in. More than that, it's probably because I'm very dedicated to the ideals of individual liberty. Especially considering since I've been a child, I've watched those liberties being eroded slowly. And sometimes in great fits and starts. Other than that, there's not a heck of a lot going on. Right now I'm working on a flute for my friend, Cass. That's Ghost of Garduna here on YouTube. He does interesting music. Go and check him out too. No, I didn't put any links in the description today because, well, A, I didn't prep them, and B, I'm just too damn lazy. But if you're watching this and you want a link to any of the things I've talked about, just mention them in a comment and I'll drop it for you. If you're going to do that, please check previous comments to make sure I haven't already done it. What else? Like, share, subscribe, comment. Really appreciate that stuff. If you think what I'm doing is worth showing to anyone else, I would appreciate it if you could donate, if you could. What else? I will be doing my live stream regularly now at 11:30 Newfoundland time on Sunday mornings, which is mid-afternoon in the UK, a little earlier in the Americas. Newfoundland being a funny time zone right at the east end. We do get called the Far East of the Western world, though I don't think that's necessarily anything better than a bad tourist slogan. Not a lot else. Have a look around the shed, maybe I'll figure out something else I want to talk about. Nope, that's it. Oh, well, because I keep a jug near me, go drink water. It's very good. And this is a sealed container that I just keep out in the shed all the time. Being a big dude, I lose a lot of water. And I've found that if you keep a consistent flow of water in and out, and that's sweating I'm talking about, don't be scatological. But if you keep a consistent flow of water in, your body tends, and it's the same thing with vitamin D, your body will use it rather than store it. Other than that, again, like I say, I'm not an organic chemist, I'm not an anatomist or any other kind of doctor. Damn it, Jim, I'm a woodworker, not a miracle. Anyway, hopefully you guys are having a good day. Hopefully you continue to have good days, and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.